For thousands of years, ordinary childbirth has suited humanity just fine, but in the 21st century, with birth rates generally falling globally and male fertility under threat from pollution, is it time we started looking for an alternative method to keep our species alive? Already, fertility treatments like IVF, artificial insemination, and surrogacy are widely used by people who face reproductive issues and want a child that's genetically theirs. If infertility rates one day increase drastically, we might need to turn to even bolder treatments, to the extent of not only conceiving, but also growing humans through artificial means. What could cause such a calamity? Well, it could be anything from a nuclear war and the effects of radiation to a bioweapon or virus. If any of these rendered large swaths or all of the population infertile, we would need to manufacture new humans on a large scale. Then again, even without a large-scale disaster, this method of reproduction could just become a popular alternative for people who don't want to conceive naturally and carry a baby to term. It might also allow greater control over a child's genetic makeup and health, letting parents design and shape their offspring. This would raise obvious ethical issues, but might appeal to people nonetheless. Regardless of the reason, it's completely plausible that human manufacturing could one day be widespread. Already we have a lot of experience cloning mammals. The first mammal cloned from an adult cell was the famous Dolly the sheep in 1996. Since then, we've also cloned mice, rats, ferrets, goats, deer, cows, camels, horses, and primates. It's become a commercial process where, for tens of thousands of dollars, you can ensure your beloved pet dog or cat can live forever, constantly reborn as a clone. In fact, in 2018, Barbra Streisand revealed that she'd cloned her dog twice. It's only a matter of time before someone breaks the rules and starts performing true human cloning. And indeed, many experiments cloning embryos to generate stem cells have been performed with great success. Even where embryos aren't cloned, they can still be altered. The prospect of designer babies remains controversial. The only known instance was in 2019 with the birth of twins Lulu and Nana. It landed Chinese scientist Ha Jiankui in prison. However, it might be inevitable, with prospective parents and researchers drawn to the ability to edit out undesirable traits using gene editing tools like CRISPR. In the future, these two areas of science could coalesce into the very future Aldous Huxley warned us about. Babies genetically engineered to have certain characteristics and raised without the need for parents at all. In Brave New World, this is precisely what happens. Infants are born and raised in industrialized hatcheries. They are then placed into a rigid caste system where designated alphas occupy the very top of the societal hierarchy, and any dissenters who oppose the system are banished. This is definitely the worst-case scenario for manufacturing humans artificially. It could promote and legitimize eugenics on an unprecedented scale. But if sterility becomes a widespread issue, and we aren't designing children to edit or remove certain traits from their genomes, there could be benefits to this alternate system of reproduction. One major advantage is that the risks of pregnancy to the expectant mother would completely disappear. Undoubtedly, some people would always want to naturally conceive and go through childbirth. But for those who wished to avoid the risk and still wanted a biological child, a manufacturing system could offer hope. Even in countries with the best healthcare in the world, simply being pregnant still poses many risks. If you have a disability, it's even more dangerous. If you and your partner could simply have your DNA combined externally and then propagated by a cloning machine, it could be quicker, safer, and easier. This could also be safer for babies, reducing complications like premature birth or birth asphyxia. In order to grow humans outside of ourselves, we'd need artificial wombs. We've already made progress in creating these. In 2017, researchers at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia placed premature lamb fetuses in artificial wombs, where they continued to develop. The wombs were basically plastic bags filled with artificial amniotic fluid. The hope is to do the same for human babies born prematurely. From there, we could eventually create artificial wombs where babies could grow from conception to birth. If this system did exist, though, who would be able to make use of it? If humans became sterile, this could be the only method to reproduce. Many people regard reproductive rights as fundamental and universal. The World Health Organization defines reproductive rights as, quote, the basic right of all couples and individuals to decide freely and responsibly the number, spacing, and timing of their children, end quote. However, if children could only be produced by a state or private entity, this right might not be recognized. In that case, there could be some sort of application process involved to prove that you would make a good parent. Such a process would probably look similar to what people go through when they want to foster or adopt a child. It might also be expensive, affordable only for the middle and upper classes. In the US, the legal process to adopt a child can cost tens of thousands of dollars, and prospective parents must be rigorously assessed and meet a lot of requirements. It's not hard to imagine these systems being applied to the human manufacturing process. That is, if we're still living in a society that actually has parents, unlike in Brave New World. There may even be strict rules around how many children somebody can have, much like China's devastating one-child policy, widely condemned until its abolition. But there's yet another route to human manufacturing that doesn't necessarily involve parenthood, licenses, or artificial wombs: the construction of synthetic humans. While in a lot of contemporary fiction, androids are incredibly robotic, so much so that their blood may be a different color and they're made of nuts, bolts, and wires, some versions of synths aren't like that at all. In Philip K. Dick's famous novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, adapted for the screen as Blade Runner, the replicants that Deckard hunts are indistinguishable from humans. Earth's remaining population doesn't even know there are rogue androids on the loose. The only way to tell is by a trained professional administering an empathy test, or from an invasive bone marrow test, which is said to be so painful it's usually reserved for dead replicants just to verify the results of the bounty hunters. Despite the replicants being manufactured by a private corporation, they are still grown, and some aren't even capable of realizing that they are replicants. There's even been widespread debate about whether Deckard himself is in fact a replicant. Though the replicants of Blade Runner are thinking, feeling, and want to be free, the artificial means of their creation dehumanizes them to everybody else in the novel. This is in contrast to Brave New World, where everybody is born artificially, occupies a position in the caste system, and has been indoctrinated into believing that this society is the best one. They're kept happy with an endless provision of mind-altering drugs known as soma. But of course, if all humans become replicants and we manage to give them equal rights from the get-go, it's a totally different future. Instead of synthetic humans being subjugated, they could be designed not as a labor class, but as genuine replacements for humanity. Instead of a violent struggle between organic and synthetic life could simply take over slowly in a few generations. You could even implant your consciousness into a synthetic and ensure continuity between the two kinds of humans. Like human cloning, the technology to create androids is being developed right now. Only time will tell whether these future humanoids will be manufactured to be organic or mechanical. And that's what would happen if humans were manufactured instead of born.